Hey, my MTS crew, what's going on, y'all? I hope all is well with you all. I pray that sickness stay away from your home. I pray that God bless you with abundance. I pray that He gives you the increase. I pray that your family is protected from this virus. MTS crew, I'm coming to you today, just me. Sister Pam is not on the sofa. She didn't really want to be on the sofa with me today because I'm going to talk about me, and she wanted me to talk about me. I'm going to talk about growing up in downtown Atlanta, Georgia, the Fourth Ward area and the Summerhill area. So this is about me growing up in that era during the civil rights era, and about me growing up right in the midst of everything down on the Auburn Avenue area, Butler Street area, and it's about me, what I seen and what I experienced during that time. Okay, I am 63 years old. I was born in 1957. Getting up there, y'all. I was born in 1957, but age is a state of mind, because even though we might have health problems, but sometimes you still feel young in the mind, and I still feel young in my mind no matter what the body is going through. So I'm just praying that my body would catch up with how my mind feels. But I want to talk to you first about me. Then I'm going to tell you about the things that I experienced during the time Dr. King had, he was down there preaching, and he lived down there and on Auburn Avenue. But I was the neighborhood child. My mother, she only had one child, and that was me. When I was 11 years old, I had three jobs. Yes, count them, three jobs. And my mother, she took very, I'm gonna call her mama because that's what I call her. Mama, she took very, very good care of me. And this is all gonna be in my book, so I want to just do little snippets on that. My mother, she took very care of me, good care of me. I was her only child, but I was a child that everybody liked in the neighborhood. And I guess it was just my personality. I wasn't a rough child. I wasn't a fighting child. I wasn't as they say, a sassy gal. I wasn't any of that. My mother really, really raised me well, and to respect my elders. So it was right down on Auburn Avenue. It used to be a Bronner Brothers store. Bronner Brothers, they have hair products probably all over the world. But that was a little small store they had on the corner. We stayed in a two-story, it was a house. It wasn't an apartment, a two-story house. And it was two houses, I'm going to say apartments, two apartments upstairs, two apartments downstairs, but it wasn't made out of brick. It was a wooden frame house, like a duplex, but it was an upstairs and a downstairs duplex. And we stayed there. So we stayed upstairs so you could see everything that came down Auburn Avenue. And my mother used to send me right next door to get my hair done. And I'm going to tell you about these three jobs I had. The first job I had, she sent me to get my hair done, and I ended up going to the store for some of the ladies, like doing lunchtime. Like they were getting their hair done, and they wanted lunch, and they couldn't leave the salon. So when I would go get my hair done, I would always be the last one to leave out of there, because I would study going to the store and going to get a lunch for these ladies at 11 years old. So even the time that I wasn't getting my hair done, I would go down there on Saturday, and I would stay down there and work all day long, and I would come out with a good amount of money for 1967, 66, I guess back then. So I would go to the cafe, Miss Jeannie's Cafe, and that's in the historical area too. And I would go to the cafe to get the ladies' meals of lunch at the beauty salon. So while I was going to the cafe, the lady that owned the cafe, she asked me could I work in there and help, and she would show me how to prep vegetables, how to clean cabbage and cut tomatoes and all that. So that was my second job. So the Saturdays that I wasn't at the salon, I was working for Miss Jeannie. a cafe, and then it was a 5 and 10 cent store up the street on right across from this place they called the Permissible Market. But back in the day, we used to call it the Curb Market, but it's the Sweet Auburn Curb Market now, Cub Market, but we used to call it the Curb Market. So it was a market of they sold everything in there. So this place was right across from there, and I used to go up to the 5 and 10 cent store. And so it was a Jewish lady that owned that place. Her name was Miss Catherine. And Miss Catherine, I used to go in there all the time when I get money and, buy little things. And she asked me, she said, they called me Tony. She said, Tony, she said, would you ask your mom, would you be interested in coming and help sweeping and dusting and help us with the customers because we're getting busy? And I told her, sure, I was just glad to do that. So that was my third job. So at 11 years old, I was working between all of those places. And on top of that, I would go to the store like for my neighbors and go up to the A&P. Everything was like in walking distance. I would go up to the A&P and I would go up there and I would go to the store for, I remember this lady, she didn't have any legs and she was halfway blind, and she would ask me would I go to the store for her. So I really had 4 jobs. And like I say, I was a neighborhood kid. Everybody loved me and I loved everybody. So that's where I got my hustling from. I love to make money. I love to work with my hands. I've owned my own, right down the street from where I used to live, I own my own florist shop. And I was a florist, and I did flowers and gift baskets for some really important people. And so I did that. And I just enjoyed our neighborhood. I went to school. I went to H.R. Butler Elementary School. I enjoyed my family at the H.R. Butler Elementary School. And I don't know whether you remember back in the day when Wayne Williams, when they said that Wayne Williams was murdering children, the missing and murdered children. His mother was my teacher, was my 6th or 7th grade teacher. And she was so sweet. And we had been out to her house. We had a trip that she was taking us on, and she forgot something at her house. So we stopped by her house. And many times Wayne Williams would come, like during the end of the year or doing, when he was out of school or whatever, and we wasn't, because we stayed in different counties, I guess. And he would come to school with her. So I remember seeing and talking to Wayne Williams back in the day. And I also remember when Dr. King died, my mother and me and my father, my stepfather, but he was just like my father, we went to view his body. The line was wrapped around the corner. And I remember as a little girl standing in that line for a few hours to view his body. So I got a chance to view his body. And we went in the church. The body was at the church at Ebenezer, his church. And so I remember going in the church and viewing his body, and they had his body, I think it was up under a glass. And I remember thinking, where are the children? I was looking around for the children, Yolanda and, Bernice. I was looking around for them because I was a little girl and I didn't know anything about death. And I was wondering, where are the children? Where are the little girls? Because I just wanted to hug them. And we stood in line. And I remember also that we stayed so close to, after the funeral, they walked down Auburn Avenue, and Dr. King's body was on a horse and buggy. And Miss King and some of the civil rights leaders, movie stars, Harry Belafonte and Sammy Davis Jr., all of them were there, and we could stand on our upstairs porch and we could see everybody vividly. We could see their faces. We can see how they were looking. We can see everything. That's how close we were to them coming down the historical Auburn Avenue. So we got a chance to see the whole funeral, and I wanted to go down and see them, and my father told me no, it was too many people. People were lined up everywhere, and we had a couple of people ask us to come up on the porch so they can really see. So I got a chance to see Dr. King funeral procession as they march. I forgot whether was it the state capitol or they marched down, I think it was Hunter Street, if I'm not mistaken. But I remember as a little girl seeing that. It was some rich memories there on on Auburn Avenue and in the 4th Ward area. And I stayed for a while in this area they call Summer Hill. Summer Hill was a predominantly black area also. And back in I think it was after slavery was over with, the slaves moved to Summer Hill, and so they named that little area down there Summer Hill. So Summer Hill is rich with memories. They had the 1996 Olympics in Summer Hill. They tore down the old stadium, and when I got older, we would go to the old stadium every Christmas. It was a treat for us to skate around the stadium, and we would have on our overalls, and the guys would have on the overalls, and we would have the different color bandanas hanging out of our pocket. Oh, we were doing it then. But they tore that old stadium down, and they built the Olympic Stadium. So I was raised up all around there, and right now they still have the Olympic track where they did the track and field. And I used to go over there even as an adult. I used to go over there, and because it was just 1996, and they gave that track to the neighborhood, and I would go over there and walk around that track. So that's where they had the Olympics, and I was we lived over there. So I have a lot of rich memories about the ATL. And just so happened that right on the same street where we live, back in then, we didn't have a lot of money. I'm going to say, by other people's standards, we might have been poor, but we were rich in love, our spirits, and our love for everybody. We were rich in that. So I really didn't know that we were poor, because, we never missed a meal. I know we didn't have a lot. And the house that we lived in, it was a regular house, but my mother had it nice and beautiful on the inside. Sometimes it don't matter how things look on the inside. It matters how it looks on the matter how things look on the outside, and matter how it look on the inside. So she always kept a nice house. And I remember as a little girl coming from school, and I was used to be ashamed of the house, and I would get out of school and I would run home and get up the stairs, and I would kind of hide, because I didn't want my classmates to see me going into that house, and not even thinking that all of them stayed in this project called the Grady Home Project. But I somehow thought that if they stayed in the Grady Home Project, that they were living better than we were, and they probably wasn't, because they were staying, in the project. Nothing wrong with the project. I stayed there before. So I would always run home as fast as I could. And one day, it was two little boys. I still remember their name. I'm not going to call it. Two little boys. They saw me going in the house, and I was trying to beat it there. And they called me an alley bag. And they will always pass by my house, and you could hear them saying, "Alley back." This is how they would say it, "Alley back." And I would be so sad. And then when I would get to school, they was telling everybody where we stayed, and the house was raggedy and all that. So I was so hurt. But you know what? I talked to my mom, and I got over that, quick, fast, in a hurry. But kids sometimes can be mean. But I wouldn't take anything for what I went through. I wouldn't take anything for the experiences that I had when I was a child. And like I said, we didn't have much. But on that same street, the same street that they call me an alley bag, the same street where we stayed in that old regular house, and the same area where Dr. Martin Luther King preached at down there, I was fortunate enough to have my own flower shop. I had a nice flower shop. I thank God for it. I got a chance to meet a lot of friends. I got a chance to meet celebrities. And what happened to me, and the reason I closed it, my mother passed. And my mother, she was so happy that I had that shop. Anything I did, I could just give her a flower. I could make a flower, and she would just go crazy. Like, "Oh, baby, this is just so beautiful." Anything I did, she was just so happy about. And when she passed away, I just lost interest. And I was making pretty good money down there. I had a wire service, I was doing really good. And I was next to a major hospital called Grady Hospital. where I was born. I was born in the Hugh Spalding, but it was part of Grady. Hugh Spalding Hospital, but it was a part of Grady. So I was born and raised right downtown Atlanta. And the shop did, you know, very well, but I just couldn't carry on. That's the reason I know that grief will take you out if you let it, you know. So, you know, grieving over my mom, and she was the only relative I felt like I had, and you know, it was just really, really hard. But I thank God that I'm 18 years away from that pain, because it was just really painful losing her. But on that same street, you know what she told me? Before she died, she told me, she said, on this same street, baby, where you have your shop, she said, my mother and I didn't have anything. She said, and this was like in the 30s, and she said that they would walk down the street to my mother's father's job, and he would not be there. And he didn't wait on them, and he did not, you know, he was not at work, and they didn't have any money, not even 25 cents for a room, and the rooms were 25 cents. My mother was about, she said, about 8 years old. So she said they didn't have any money. I mean, they were like really, really poor. And it's a grass. It's not a grass, but they call it poke salad. Poke salad. And they didn't have any money. So you know what they did? They picked some poke salad and they ate it. And that's how they survived. They were really, really, you know, really poor. But, you know, my grandmother, she died when I was about 3 years old. And my mother loved her dearly, and they went through so much, but my mother said that her mother would never ever go without, and that's what happened. My grandmother never went without when my mother became an adult. But like I say, she died when I was about 3 years old. So just think of all the rich history I had in that area. You know, I lived on Butler Street. I owned a business. No, I lived on Butler Street. I'm gonna say it in order. My mom and her mom, they had to eat some kind of grass or something to survive, and this is true. Okay, then, you know, my I was raised over there, and then I had a shop, so I would often sit in the window and I would just look out, and I said, you know what, my mother had a hard time, and they didn't have anywhere to stay on this street. You know, I was born right there, 2 minutes away at Grady Hospital. I was born on that street. I have a successful, lucrative business on that street. So look at God, you know. So I really appreciated my mother for what she did for me. And that's the reason that I am putting all of me in this book. The first book is going to be about my grandmother, the stories that my grandmother told me. And I'm going to name that book, I'm thinking about naming it Miss Hattie, because her name was Hattie. And y'all, she had a powerful story, the things that happened to her. And then my mother, I'm going to name her book Hey Miss G. My mother's name was Gladys, and I'm going to name that either Hey Miss G or just Miss G. And believe me, Miss G was something else. You know, she was an only child. Her brother died when he was 16 years old. So she was an only child. My grandmother had 2 children to die on the same day. And so he died in a reform school, and he was trying to help my grandmother. You know, they were having such a hard time. So back in then, they called it running numbers. So he went to the reform school, and they treated him so bad when they would go out and work and stuff. You know, they used to treat black people really bad. And so somebody told him if he gets some Oshikoon soap, you might not know about that, but it's a soap that people used to use back in the day. And they told him to just pinch some off and do it like that and make a little peel off of it and to take it. And if he took it, he would get a fever and he wouldn't have to go out and work so hard and be beat like that. And so that's what he did. And then that made him have tuberculosis, and he died. And my grandmother was pregnant. After he died, somebody went to the hospital. My grandmother had gave birth to a baby, and somebody told my grandmother that her son had just died, and she told them, say, well, I know it, because she said, I heard him say, Mama, I'm gone. So she said she heard his spirit say, Mama, I'm gone. So I mean, we just have had a hard time, but you know what? But God, you know, God has brought me a long way, and through my experiences, He has made me, you know, a humble person, and I thank God for everything. I thank God for my husband. He was, you know, able to purchase a house, and I thank God for everything He has done for me and my kids. You know, I have, you know, always worked. I always made sure that my children had, you know, they never remember, you know, not eating or whatever. I have had a hard time, but thank God they were so young that they couldn't remember the hard time that I had. And I have made mistakes. Everybody have skeletons in their closet, but I can't wait until these books come out so you can read. And I want to let you read about my life story, because I was a teen mother. I had my oldest daughter when I was 15 years old. Yes, I had her when I was 15 years old. And so, you know, I made mistakes, you know, and I had a daughter at 17, and I had a son at 21. So, but I was able to take care of my children. I was able to, I was able to get an apartment. I was able to, when I was 17, to get a job, put furniture in the layaway. I was able to, God helped me. I was able to do all of that. And I got an apartment. It was a project. But guess what? I had an apartment. My children had food. We had somewhere to stay. And later on, you know, I got a car. So, and we had a house full of furniture. I worked hard. So you can do anything you put your, you know, you put your mind to. But I thank God for my history. You know, some things were hard, some things were bitter, but I thank God for them. And my mother, I really want to write a book about her, because she could not even stand to talk about her mother, because they had such hard times. And you know, she loved her mother. I mean, she loved her. So I just thank God for helping me. I thank God for me being able to stand up and push through. You know, I could have been on drugs. I could have been an alcoholic. I could have been, because I had times when we really didn't have anything. I could have been I could have sold my body. I could have did all that. But you know what? God kept me, and He is still keeping me. It was times to where, I mean, it's friends that I had that has passed away because they, you know what, got hooked on drugs. You know what? Believe it or not, I tried some cocaine. I really did. I tried some. And a friend of mine, well, I'm telling you the truth, he was my cousin, and he gave me some, and he told me to put it up under my finger and sniff it like that. It didn't even get me high. I didn't even, you know, I thank God for that. He kept me, because I could have got hooked. I took a pill they call a TLC, kind of find out it was a horse tranquilizer, because I was going through so much in my life when my children were born until I was looking for an outlet. And that didn't do anything for me. I would try to drink alcohol. That didn't do anything for me but make me sick. And I remember drinking so much alcohol one time, and I got sick and I got dizzy. And I asked God, I said, God, if you would help me get out of this, because if anybody know about drinking, getting drunk ain't no joke. I said, if you help me get out of this, I promise you I would never drink any alcohol again. So all that stuff I tried to do, I didn't get addicted to anything. I tried things one time and that was it. So God kept me. You know what? He needed me here so I could raise my children, and I could be a mother to my children. I love each and every one of them. I raised them to be respectful. I raised them to be loving, and you know, I love them, and they love me. You know, so I just want to come and tell you a little bit about myself, and these things are going to be in my book. You know, Hattie Bell, that's my grandmama. Miss G, that's my mama. And me, my name is Antoinette. And So I'm still working on my first book, and I can't wait till it's out there. You know, I didn't know whether I was gonna put them all together and just write one book, but I'm kind of led to just let everybody, you know, tell their own. You know, I'm gonna tell everybody's story, but God is good. I thank God for everything that He has done for me. And I thank God for y'all. I thank God for my MTS crew. And if you are listening to this video to the end, I appreciate that. But I have a lot more to say, a lot more to talk about. I know I really don't have time on here, and I might do a part two, because I have a lot of interesting things that I can tell you that happened, you know, on Auburn Avenue. You know, they had the Royal Peacock, they had the Yates and Milton store, you know, all black businesses down there, and those black people were wealthy down there on Auburn Avenue that owned those places. Yeah, it was prostitutes down there, and some of everybody, you know, was down there on Auburn Avenue, and we could sit on the porch and just see what was going on. And we had friends. You know, my mother had friends down there. They were, you know, prostitutes. They would some of them, you know, they was in the gay lifestyle. My mama didn't have no respect of person. She loved everybody. She loved everybody. And I remember her taking some guys in because their family had put them out, and they were in the gay lifestyle. And I remember her making pallets on the floor so they can have somewhere to sleep. And I remember getting up in the morning time and stepping over people to go to the bathroom. My mom, she would cook so much food, and everybody loved Miss Gladys, because now she didn't play with people, she didn't play the radio, but she made sure that, you know, people that didn't have food, if she couldn't do nothing but give you something to eat. Now, as she say, this how she said it: I'm gonna feed you, but don't throw away my some tea. They used to call it some tea. And so she would feed them, and you know, be there for them and talk to them. And you know, these were people that was thrown away. And you know, my family have always been there for them. You know, I hate to say it, the underdog. You know, people that people didn't want to be bothered with or whatever. We will always take them in. We always had somebody staying with us, y'all. Always. And I was the only child, and our house was full. So I thank God for Miss G. I can't wait till I'm finished with her book. You know, so God bless y'all. And I'm just afraid that this recording is going to run out. God keep y'all, and y'all be encouraged. This hand, pat yourself on the back. You love yourself, and you make sure that you love others. And no matter where you came from, you know, they used to call it the ghetto back in the day. No matter where you came from, you know, God brought you a mighty long way. If you're listening to this video, God has brought you a mighty long way, just like He did Mama T. You know, He brought me from a regular house with 2 rooms. We had 2 rooms, a living room and a middle room, and the kitchen was in the middle room. He brought me from that to having a pretty nice house, and I appreciate that. I just wish my mother here was here to just be with us. She would be right here with us. So I appreciate y'all. Be good to yourself, and we'll talk later. I might do another video some other time and tell you about all the stuff that went on Auburn Avenue. Love y'all. Peace out.